Good morning, students. So here we are going to study about input-output instructions. Okay, we have learned about register reference instructions and memory reference instructions. And in this class, we are going to learn about input-output instructions. So to learn, before learning about input-output instructions, let's know the configuration, okay, how this input and output are connected to the computer, okay, and how it is configured. The instructions and data stored in the memory must come from some input device. And the results, computational results must be transmitted to the user through some output device. Okay, we need input device to get the data from the user and to show the results. Okay, the computational results need to be transmitted to the user through the output device. So this input and output devices need to be connected to the computer. Correct? The computer must be able to receive input from input device and to be able to transmit the processed result to the user through the output device. For the system to communicate with an input device, the serial information is shifted into the register INPR. INPR is the register, okay, called input register. So in this, the serial information that is taken from the input device is stored. Okay, it is shifted to this register before being accepted by the processor, okay, for processing. And the output information, okay, before printing it or before displaying it on the screen, okay, to the user, it is stored in the output register OUTR. INPR is the input register, OUTR is the output register in which the results are stored. The output is stored before being printed, okay, to the user. So to understand this, let's see the configuration of input-output devices. Here we have this input-output terminal. Okay, the output terminal, this is the input and output. The output terminal is printer and the input terminal is the keyboard, okay, through which the computer is taking the input through the keyboard, and computer is, after the processing, okay, the computational results are printed using the printer. Okay, keyboard is the input device through which the information is taken, okay. And these are the input and output terminal. Input terminal is the keyboard, output terminal is the printer. And we have the serial communication interface, okay. If you see this, the serial communication interface, at the input side we have transmitter interface, and at the output side we have receiver interface, okay, through which the input information is transmitted to the computer and output information is transmitted to the user. Okay, so before being transmitted, right, before being accepted by the computer, it need to be converted to the binary form. Okay, whatever the information being entered by the user, it may be in a user understandable form. Okay, it has to be converted to the computer understandable form, the binary form. Okay, that all this transmitter interface, the interface that connects the input and output devices to the computer, okay, takes care of that. And after being, the transmitter interface, through the transmitter interface, the input is transmitted to the register INPR, okay. And this FGI is the input flag, okay. We have two flags here. At the input side, we have FGI, and here at the output side, we have FGO, that is output flag. And this input flag is initially, the value of input flag will be 0. Okay, and once when the input is available in the register INPR, okay, when input is transmitted to INPR and it is available, okay, for being accepted by the computer, this FGI will be set to 1. Okay, the computer checks, okay, it checks the flag FGI, and if it is set to 1, that means there is input available in INPR. So the computer accepts, the processor, okay, takes the input, accepts the input from INPR. So input get transmitted to the processor for processing. Okay, so here we have the accumulator, the processor register accumulator. Input is transmitted from INPR to accumulator, and it is processed, and the result will get stored in accumulator. Okay, once the computation is complete, the process is complete, it has to be given as output, right? It has to be given to the user. The result need to be provided to the user. So here, if you see, there is a flag FGO. Okay, FGO, the value of output flag will initially be 1. Okay, initially it is set to 1. FGI, input flag, is initially 0. When there is input, it is set to 1. Once it is accepted by the computer, it will be set back to 0. Okay, FGI. And FGO, output flag, initially will be, the value will be 0. Okay, sorry. Initially it is set to 1. So the computer checks the FGO, okay, the bit in this FGO flag. If it is 1, that means this output register is ready to accept the output. Okay, so output is transmitted from the processor register to the output register, OUTR. Okay, so once it is transmitted, FGO will be set to 0. Okay, that means there is already information in OUTR. Okay, it cannot take more no information. So now FGO is set to 0. Okay, and the output register transmit through the transmitter interface. The output is transmitted to the printer for printing. Okay, this is how this input and output is transmitted between the registers and transmitted back to the user. Okay, these flags you need to, FGI, the flags we discussed here, FGI and FGO are the input and output flags. Okay, otherwise the input that is being entered by the keyboard cannot be continuously transmitted to the processor, okay, for processing it. Okay, the speed of the transmission speed and the of input output devices and the computer will not match. Okay, so to synchronize the timing rate difference between the IO device and the computer, we use this FGI and FGO. Okay, instead of continuously transmitting the input or output, this is set to 1 when there is data. Okay, when there is data in the input register, it is set to 1, and once the computer reads the input, it is set to 0. And output register is initially 1. Okay, so then that time when it is 1, the output is transmitted to output register, and output flag is set to 0. Okay, once it is 0, it cannot, the transmission cannot happen, okay, between AC and OUTR, output register, okay, because output register is busy. If flag is 0, that means output register is busy transmitting it to the output, okay, to the printer here. Okay, again, once this transmission from the output register to the printer is done, and when the output is printed, it sets back, okay, the FGO will be set back to 1. Okay, again the transmission happens. Okay, AC transmits the content of AC is transmitted to OUTR. Okay, this is how this input output transmission is controlled using FGI and FGO. Okay, these steps are explained here. The processing steps of input information transfer is initially FGI is clear to 0. Okay, the 8-bit alphanumeric code is shifted into INPR, and the input flag is set to 1. When the input is shifted into INPR, input register, FGI is set to 1. As long as the flag is set, information, okay, in INPR cannot be changed by another data entry. Okay, as long as it is 1, no more input can be transmitted to INPR. Okay, once that is accepted by the computer, it will be set to 0. Then the transmission from the terminal, input terminal to INPR can be done. And the computer checks the flag bit. If it is 1, the information from INPR is transmitted to AC, and FGI is clear to 0. Once the flag is cleared, new information can be shifted into INPR by the input device, okay, by striking another key. And if you see the processing steps of output information transfer, initially FGO is set to 1. The computer checks the flag bit. If it is 1, the information from AC is transferred to OUTR and it is cleared to 0. Okay, the output accepts the coded information. It is printed. Okay, it is transmitted to the printer for printing. When the operation is completed, output device sets FGO back to 1. The computer does not load a new data information into OUTR when FGO is 0, because this indicates that the output device is busy to receive another information at the moment. When FGO is 0, means it is output device is busy, okay, transmitting the information between OUTR and the output terminal printer. Once that is done, it is set back to 1. FGO is set back to 1. When FGO is 1, that means it can be transmitted from accumulator to the output register. So now we have understood the input-output configuration. Okay, now why we need this input-output instructions. Okay, let's see the execution of input-output instructions. This input-output instructions are needed for transferring information to and from AC register. We have seen that, right? From input register INPR, information has to be transmitted to AC, and from AC it has to be transmitted to OUTR. So for transferring information to and from the AC register, we need instructions. And for checking the flag bits, okay, the flag bits are FGI and FGO. Okay, for checking these bits, we need these input output instructions. Okay, and for controlling the interrupt facility. Okay, about interrupt we are going to learn after this. We are going to learn in detail. Okay, for checking the interrupt facility, if interrupt is on or off. Okay, so input output instructions are needed for controlling these operations. And for the execution of input output instructions, okay, when the control recognize the input output instructions, when D7 is 1, the decoder output, right? Decoder output will be when the instruction register opcode, the opcode of the instruction register is decoded. The decoder outputs are from D6 to, sorry, D0 to D7. And D7 means D0 is 0, 0, 0, right? When the opcode is 0, 0, 0, the decoder output will be D0. And when the output is 1, 1, when the opcode is 1, 1, 1, the output of the decoder will be D7. Okay, when it is D7 means D7 is 1. Okay, it is set. Okay, when it is 1, that means, okay, the control recognize it as a register reference or memory reference instruction. Then bit I need to be checked. Bit I is 0 for register reference instructions, and I is 1 for bit I is 1 for input output instruction. Okay, so here D7 is the control conditions to recognize the instruction is D7 need to be 1 and I is equal to 1. Okay, I is 0 for register reference and 1 for IO instructions. Okay, so the conditions are D7 is need to be 1. Okay, when D7 is 1 and I is equal to 1, it is recognized as IO instruction. Okay, input output instruction, and the remaining bits of the instruction specify the particular operations. Bit 0 to 11, right? The other 12 bits are used to specify the operation. And these IO instructions are executed with a clock transition associated with time T3, right? We have learned it earlier that time T0 and T1, okay, the fetch, yeah, the instruction cycle here. We have learned in this that this is fetch phase. Okay, at time T0 and T1, fetch phase of the instruction cycle is done, and the decode phase is done at time T2, and the third phase of the instruction cycle is finding the effective address. Okay, in case of memory reference instructions. Okay, otherwise in time T3, if you see this our input output instructions, it is done at time T3. Execution of the input output instruction is done at time T3. So the control conditions are D7 need to be 1, I is 1, and T3 at time T3. Okay, T3 is 1. These are the input output instructions. INP to input character to AC, the instruction, and OUT. Okay, this instruction is used to output character from AC, means it is to input character to AC from INPR. Okay, the transfer between INPR and AC can be done, okay, when this instruction is encountered, INP. OUT is to output character from AC. SKI is to skip on input flag. Okay, when input flag FGI is set, okay, it skip the next instruction. And SKO is to skip on output flag. When FGO is set, it skip the next instruction. ION, okay, this is the instruction for enabling the interrupt. Okay, the interrupt enable signal, IEN is set to 1. And when IOF instruction is encountered, interrupt is set to off. Okay, the value of this will be 0. Let's see the micro operations done here. The control conditions here are D7 is 1. Okay. D7 is 1. I is equal to 1. And time is T3. Okay. So T3 is 1. That is, yeah, in short, it is written as P here. Okay. If you see the control condition, it is P. That means D7, I, T3. Okay. 1, 1, 1. It is all set. And the second part of this control condition, B11, B10, B9, B8, okay, these all indicates the ith bit, okay, where I is 6 to 11 of the instruction register. In the instruction register, okay, 0 to bit 0 to 11 here, okay, based on these bits, this is opcode 111 and 1 for input output instruction, and here bit 0 to 11. Okay, this is here the ith bit is taken as, okay, BI when it is 1, when a particular bit is 1. Okay, I explained it yesterday. It is 8000. Okay, the first instruction. So it is 8 is 1000 00040, and again this is 0. This is 8. Okay, so here the bit that is 1 is this. Okay, the 11th bit. Okay, so here I is 11. The control condition is B11. Okay, P and P B11. And the next case, it is 400. Okay, so if you write the binary code, it is a hexa code. Okay, hexadecimal code, F400. Okay, so if you see the binary equivalent, it is 0100, and then all zeros for 0. This is 0, this is 0, this is 4. Okay, so here the bit that is set 1, okay, is this bit, that is the 10th bit. I is 10 here, so we write B10. Okay, that is when B10 is set in the instruction code, when all these conditions, means D7 is 1 and I is 1 and time is T3, and when B10 is set, B10 is 1, that means the instruction is OUT. Okay, instruction executed is, it is recognized as OUT instruction. So this way the control conditions are given, and let's see the micro operations performed here. INP, okay, it is to input the transfer the content of INPR into accumulator, correct? Okay, so the micro operation is transfer INPR into accumulator bit 0 to 7. Okay, INPR is a 8-bit register. It has bit 0 to 7, and accumulator is a 16-bit register. It has bits 0 to 15. Okay, so to transfer this to the accumulator, it is transmitted. These 7 bits are transmitted to the accumulator. Okay, to bits 0 to 7. All these bits will take this input information from INPR, and all the more significant bits, the other bits are replaced with 0 in the accumulator. Okay, so bit 0 to 7, the least significant bits 0 to 7, the accumulator are replaced with the content of INPR, and then when FGI is 1, this happens, this is done. Okay. okay, this operation is performed. And once this is done, FGI need to be set to 0, okay, for the next transfer. Correct? Because there is no input now in the INPR. There is no data available in INPR, so it has to be set to 0. Then again, the next input comes from the input device to INPR, it has to be set to 1. And the next instruction, OUT, it is to transfer the content of accumulator into output register. Okay, so the content of accumulator from bits 0 to 7, the least significant bits are transferred to the 8-bit register OUTR. And FGO is set to 0. Okay, this transmission happens when FGO is 1. Once this transmission is done, FGO is set to 0. And SKI is the input flag, correct? That skips the next instruction on input flag. So FGI is set, FGI is checked. If it is 1, then skip the next instruction. Okay, we can perform the skipping of next instruction by incrementing the content of PC, right? PC is PC plus 1. And SKO is skip on output flag. So here output flag is checked. If it is 1, then PC is incremented. ION is interrupt on. Okay, the interrupt enable signal. Okay, the flip-flop interrupt IEN is set to 1 and interrupt off sets IEN to 0. Okay, so these are all the input-output instructions executed at time T3. And we have seen the micro operations, okay, that are done. Let me check the attendance. Yes, let's continue with the next topic. It's program interrupt. Here, the process of communication we have seen here. Okay, it is referred to as programmed control transfer. Okay, because all these transmissions between the registers and the input device are controlled by the programs. Okay, program is written to set FGI 1 at a particular time when the data is available in INPR, and okay, all these instructions are given to the computer. So when these instructions are encountered, the computer does, when FGI is 1, it checks the flag FGI. If it is 1, then immediately the computer accepts the input, okay, from the INPR register. And it checks the flag bit FGO. If it is 1, then transmit the output from AC to OUTR. Okay, here the disadvantage is the computer has to keep checking the flag bits and it wastes time. Okay, to avoid that, okay, we use the interrupt facility. The computers use the interrupt facility. That is, when there is an input information to be accepted by the computer, okay, to be given to the computer, the input device sends the signal to computer, okay, and that interrupts or it stops the current execution of the computer and it takes the control to this particular operation that is to be performed. Okay, that is what we call as interrupt. The signal given by the input device, instead of setting this flag as 1, okay, and it is set to 1, okay, input flag will be set to 1, but the computer will not need to keep checking the flag or to wait for that, okay, wasting time checking that. Okay, it can be when there is input, it will be informed, okay, and automatically the current process will be stopped and the control will be taken to the other process, okay, that is accepting the input here. Okay, same way when there is an output to be written, okay, instead of the computer wait and check the flag bits, okay, wasting time, it can be informed. So interrupt is a signal from a device attached to a computer, such as we have input and output devices. Okay, when there is input to be read, the input device can send a signal to computer, an interrupt signal to computer, saying, asking it to stop the current process and take the input. Okay, or the output device. Okay, when there is an output, it can request the computer to stop and send the output. Okay, so that way the interrupt is a signal from a device attached to a computer or from a program within the computer that requires the operating system to stop and figure out what to do next. Okay, it may be an external interrupt, such as the signal given by the devices from a device, or it may be from a program within, internal interrupt, okay, from the program. Yes. So when the interrupt signal is, when the interrupt is given to the computer stops what it is doing to take care of the input-output transfer. Okay, in this case, when the interrupt signal comes from an input or output device, the computer stops what it is doing and send the informations. Then it returns to the current program to continue what it was doing before the interrupt. Okay, it stops the current execution and does what is the interrupt service routine. Okay, we call it as interrupt service routine, the interrupt cycle. Okay, that is the set of instructions that need to be executed when an interrupt occurs. Okay, when an interrupt is occurred, or when the input output device sends an interrupt signal to the computer, or it may be an internal or external interrupt we have discussed here. Okay, so when an interrupt is encountered, the computer has to stop its current execution and it has to execute this interrupt service routine. Okay, and once this is completed, okay, the execution of ISR is completed, the computer has to return to the place, okay, to the program, what it was doing before the interrupt. Okay, the interrupt facility can be enabled and disabled via the flip-flop called IEN. Okay, how the computer know that there is interrupt or no? By checking this. When IES is 1 means there is an interrupt. When IEN is 0, there is no interrupt. Okay, it is, so the instructions used to set this on and off we discussed, okay, are ION and IO off, IOF. Okay, IOF is to off or to disable this IEN, okay, to set it as 0, and ION set it as 1. And here is another flip-flop, okay, that is used to, for checking the interrupt as R. Okay, that is used in the computer's interrupt facility to decide when to go through the interrupt cycle. Okay, IEN will be set to 1, means there is an interrupt. Okay, but when to go through the interrupt cycle, when to execute this interrupt service routine, that is decided by this flip-flop. Okay, by checking this flip-flop R. Okay, it is the interrupt flip-flop. It is set to 1, or the value of it also will be 1 or 0. When it is 1, means it has to immediately go to the go to execute the interrupt service routine. So let's see this interrupt cycle. Here is a flowchart for interrupt cycle. As I told you, the flip-flop R, okay, interrupt flip-flop R is checked. If it is 1, interrupt cycle has to be done. Okay, this is the interrupt cycle, and this part is the execution, okay, of other instructions. So initially, let's assume that R is 0. Okay, so R is 0 initially. So when this condition is checked, R is found 0, and okay, it come to this side, left side, instruction cycle is done. Okay, either depending on the value of R, either instruction cycle or interrupt cycle is executed. Okay, means interrupt cycle is performed. The okay steps given in instruction cycle, this is done, or instruction cycle. So here when R is 0, it come to this part, instruction cycle. So what is our instruction cycle? The first step is fetch the instructions. Then the second step is decode the instructions. So fetch and decode the instructions. And the next phase is find the effective address. We have seen, okay, all this are included. And then the next step is execute the instruction. The fourth phase of the instruction cycle is execute the instruction. Okay, so it executes. And this cycle, the instruction cycle, it repeats, okay, again and again for every instruction. Okay, this is for one instruction, and this gets repeated for every single instructions in the program. At the same time, when this execution is going on, okay, the control checks the value of IEN. Here in the flowchart, you see this, IEN is checked. What is IEN? IEN is interrupt enable flip-flop. The value of it will be 1 when there is interrupt. It is 0 when there is no interrupt signal. So if it is 0, it goes to repeat, continue, okay, goes to continue the cycle with the next instruction. When it is 1, okay, means there is an interrupt. Okay, when the value of it is 1, means there is an interrupt. Now we need to find, the computer has to find if it is from the input or the output. Okay, if the interrupt is from input device or from the output device. So to check that, it checks the input flag first, FGI. Okay, FGI is set to 1 when there is input, right, to be accepted. So it is checked, FGI is checked. If it is 0, okay, it checks the other FGO. If it is 1, okay, means there is an interrupt. Correct, FGI is 1 means there is interrupt from the input device. Okay, so there is some input to be read. Okay, so this case R is set to 1. R is our interrupt flip-flop. Okay, it is set to 1 and it goes back. So here when R is checked, it is 1, so interrupt cycle is done, okay, executed. And FGI is 0. The other case, if there is no interrupt from input, then output is checked. Okay, output device, is there an interrupt from output device? So FGO, the output flag is checked. If it is 0, it goes to continue with the cycle of executing the instructions. If it is 1, R is set to 1. Okay, R, the value of R was 0. That is why this instruction cycle is okay, being done here. But when this interrupt occurs, FGO will be 1. So when it is 1, R is set to 1. Okay, and it goes back. When it is checked here, when R is 1, interrupt cycle will be performed. Okay, so this is about the condition when R is 0. And when R is 1, it is interrupt cycle need to be done. The instructions in, okay, this cycle is done. So the first instruction here is, in the first phase of this interrupt cycle, we need to, the control will be taken to the interrupt service routine, okay, to serve that set of instructions, okay, in the interrupt that is given by the interrupt. So before that, okay, after doing this, after performing this, the control has to return back to the actual program what it was doing, right? So the address, the return address need to be known. Okay, so the return address is stored in memory location 0 here. Okay, the first step is store the return address in location 0 at m of 0, 0th location in memory. PC is the next instruction. Okay, if suppose the second instruction is being executed now, PC will be 3 here. Okay, so at this place, when during second instruction there is an interrupt signal is okay, interrupt occurred at 2. So what the control has to be taken to the interrupt cycle. Okay, so it will perform that and return back to this program. Okay, to address 3. Okay, that will be there in PC. So that we store, that is the return address, what is there in PC. So we store that into the 0th location in memory and branch to 1. Okay, after storing it to 0th location, branch to 1. We assume that the interrupt okay, instruction will be there at location 1. Okay, and IEN is set to 0. Okay, because interrupt is okay, when this instruction is executed, it will be done. Okay, this ISR will be okay, so means this routine, the set of instructions will be executed in the interrupt, and okay, IEN need to be set to 0. Okay, because it is serviced now, interrupt is completed. So IEN is set to 0 and R is set to 0. Hope you have understood this. Okay, let me explain this again. R is the interrupt flip-flop. Okay, that is enabled. The value of it is 1 when there is an interrupt. Okay, when there is no interrupt, it is 0. If there is no interrupt, the actual execution of the instructions need to be done. The first step is fetch and decode the instructions and then execute the instructions. During this execution, not this fetch. Fetch and decode happens at T0 and T1, right? And even T2. Okay, T0 and T1 fetch and decode is done at T2 phase, right? T2, when the timing signal is T2, decoding of instructions are done. Okay, even the effective address will get stored here. We are talking about IO instructions now. And the execution happens at time T3. So at time T3, during execution, it checks for interrupt. Okay, if there is an interrupt. So IEN is checked. If it is 0, there is no interrupt. Okay, it proceeds with the next instruction. The cycle repeats. If it is 1, now the computer has to find if the interrupt is from input device or from output device. So it checks these two flags, FGI and FGO. If FGI is 1, R is set to 1, means there is interrupt. Okay, if it is not, if FGI is not equal to 1, it checks FGO. If FGO is 1, there is interrupt from output device, so it sets R to 1. If FGO is 0, it repeats with the next instruction. Okay, so this way the instructions are executed. Okay, meanwhile at the execution, this IEN is checked for new coming interrupt signals. So when there is an interrupt, this R will be set to 1. When the cycle repeats, here R is again checked, right? R is 1. When R is 1, this interrupt cycle, okay, instructions given here are executed. The first phase of this interrupt cycle is we need to store the return address. Okay, once the interrupt cycle occurs, once the interrupt occurs to the computer, the control has to go to that particular, okay, interrupt service routine. It has a set of instructions. Okay, that is importantly need to be, that need to be executed before the current executing instructions. Okay, so control immediately jumps to this interrupt service routine, finish that and come back to the current address. So the return address need to be stored. It is stored in memory location 0 and the PC will be taken to location 1 and it executes the ISR and IEN is set to, once the interrupt is serviced, okay, IEN is set to 0 and R, both the interrupt flip-flops, okay, are set to 0. Okay, once again, when the interrupt occurs, this will be set to 1, when IEN will become 1 and R will set to 1 and interrupt cycle is executed. Okay, if we see this here to explain that, and the memory before interrupt is given and after the interrupt cycle. Interrupt cycle is a hardware implementation of branch and save return address operation. We have learned this, BSA. It branches to the given address to execute those instructions, function or a procedure. And after executing, it returns back to the previous location. So it saves. This instruction allows us to save the return address. Okay, so that is why it is implemented using this BSA instruction. And let's assume here that the computer is interrupted during the execution of address 255. You see this before the interrupt, okay, the memory before the interrupt at location 255 here. Okay, let's say that at this particular location, the interrupt occurred. Computer is interrupted. Computer is doing this. This is the main program. Computer is executing this. At this particular point, it is interrupted. And the next instruction to be executed is 256, right? Location 256. It is there in PC. So what is the first step in instruction cycle? Interrupt cycle. Store the return address in location 0. Okay, that is the content of PC. Content of PC is 256. It is stored at location 0. Okay, here at location 0, 256, the content of PC is stored. And PC is set to 1. Correct? After that, our interrupt cycle, okay, it is to set PC as 1. Okay, so when PC is 1, this is the interrupt, instruction. So here it takes the control to this particular location given in the instruction. It is BUN, okay, branch unconditionally to the address 1120. So it jumps to this particular location 1120, and this is our interrupt service routine. Okay, this one. So it executes this program. Okay, during the execution of main program, there is a need for execution of an IO program. Okay, IO program to accept input or to print output. Okay, there is an immediate need for doing this. That is why computer was interrupted. Okay, a signal came from the input or output device. Okay, telling the computer to stop the current execution of the main program and go to this execute this IO program. Okay, this is our interrupt service routine. So the control is taken to 1120, it executes this, and at the end of the interrupt service routine, if you see, there is a branch instruction again. Okay, it takes the control to location 0. Okay, once this ISR is executed, the control is taken to location 0. At location 0, you have the return address, right? It is 256. So it goes to this particular, the control goes to 256 and it executes the other instructions in the main program. Okay, this is how, when interrupted, the computer, okay, does its execution. Is this clear? Yes. Yes, the control condition for setting up the flag R equal to 1. Okay, we have learned that when R is set to 1, depending on the value of R, when it is 0, instruction cycle is executed, and when it is 1, it is interrupt cycle is executed. So here, when the value of R will be set to 1, that depends on these conditions. When T naught is 0, okay, means T naught dash, we have given here, we have complemented T naught dash is 1. Okay, when, what is T naught? T naught is a timing signal. At this particular time, fetch instruction, okay, fetch phase of our instruction is done at T naught, and decode, no, T naught and T1, okay, two set of micro operations we have seen for fetch, and decode is done at time T2. For input output instructions, execution is done at time T3, okay. So when during the execution, T naught will be 0 and T1 will be 0, T2 also will be 0, only T3 will be 1, okay. So when T naught is 0, T1 is 0, T2 is 0, and IEN is the interrupt enable flip-flop. When it is 1, okay, here these all values are 0, okay. But when T naught dash is 1 means, what is T naught dash? When T naught is 0, T naught dash is 1, and T1 dash is 1, T2 dash is 1, IEN is 1. When IEN is set to 1, and FGI or this plus operation, okay, the register language, correct? So here FGI or FGO, either this or output, either input interrupt or output interrupt is set to 1, okay. If this is 1, if there is an input interrupt from input, this is 1 and this will be 0. When you perform OR operation, you get it as 1. And when all these conditions are set, R will be 1. Okay, so R decides when to go through the interrupt cycle. Okay, enable flip-flop should be 1. And all these, okay, it is not done. If you see the flow chart here, you can check. IEN is checked here only during execution. Okay, here during execution, at the same time, IEN is checked, not during fetch and decode phases. Once after completion of fetch and decode phase and the execution of current instruction, this is checked. Okay, once if there is an interrupt identified here, R is set to 1. Okay, at that time, the execution of current instruction will be done. But the next cycle, when R is checked, it is 1. So the next instruction will not be executed. Interrupt cycle will be executed. Okay, so these are the control conditions. T0 dash, T1 dash, T2 dash, all set to 1, IEN is 1, and FGI or FGO is 1. Okay, when these conditions are true, R becomes 1. And the instructions in the interrupt cycle, okay, what we have seen in the flow chart. First, the first instruction at time T0, okay, when R is 1, the control condition here for executing the interrupt cycle, R should be 1. Okay, value of R is 1 here. At time T0, the first instruction, first micro operation is done. The micro operation is AR is set to 0. The address register and the PC, content of PC need to be transmitted to memory address 0, right? What is the first instruction here? Content of PC need to be transmitted to memory address 0. Okay, so to denote that, we are setting AR to 0. The value of AR is set to 0 and memory, okay, address AR, the content of PC is transmitted, and before that it is stored in temporary register. PC is stored in temporary register and the content of temporary register is stored to transfer to memory address. What is the memory address? It is 0, AR is 0. Okay, and PC is also set to 0 in this same particular time T1. Okay, this is at time T1. And when R is 1 and time T2, PC is incremented because the PC has to be set to 1. Now it is 0. It is set to 0 first and then, sorry, here PC is set to 0 and then incremented by 1. So it will be taken to the means the next instruction will be at location 1. And after this is done, IAN is set to 0, R is set to 0. Okay, this part, IAN and R are set to 0 and the sequence counter, okay, to start counting from T0 again. These are the micro operations, one at time T0 and one at time T1 and then at time T2. And then, okay, to generate the next timing signal, to start from T0, we set sequence counter to 0. Yes.